Recently, there was this story going around that a conservative group had accused Representative Alexandria Ocasio Cortez and her staff of committing some sort of campaign finance violation, which apparently campaign finance experts are saying is not actually against the law what they did. And in fact, the group had been openly talking about the way that they were using money since 2016 at the very least. Now she says that the reason this is going around is not because those groups believe that she's actually broken the law, but she says conservative groups have now taken to spamming us by filing bogus ethics complaints so that Fox News can report on alleged untrue scandals. And indeed, Fox News reported on this. Do you worry at all, as someone who you're an activist and you do a lot of your work online, the idea that sort of hijacking the news cycle for something, like whether this ends up to have anything behind it, the people who initially spread it and are concerned about it are never gonna know, they're not gonna pay attention to it. So what do you think about the implications of this sort of action being taken?
I think that's a really interesting point, right? So we have these baseless charges. NBC News said there's no evidence for what they're claiming. It's just another instance in this long line of ridiculous accusations and attacks against Congresswoman Ocasio Cortez. So you have this operation, this well-funded, like clearly like deliberate and targeted operation to smear her with every chance they get. But the dynamic you point out is how those things trickle up the right-wing media infrastructure. And if you look at how these things spread, in some instances from 4chan, that end up on Breitbart or InfoWars, but then get aggregated by sites like the Daily Caller, who do a little bit less, have convinced enough people in the right-wing media that they're reputable enough to cite, pretty soon it's on Fox News. So you have this stream of misinformation going from the darkest corners of the internet all the way up to the cable network that the president watches religiously, and it's alarming. But moreover than that, you've got millions of people relying on this for their main source of information, if not their only source of information. So between that and the disastrous misinformation effects we see in social media, like it's so easy to smear someone, and when you have a motive, and it's this congresswoman who's young and inspiring and capturing like the hearts and minds of millions, that's an easy target for them. Why wouldn't they just use this infrastructure they've been enriching for 3 decades to continue their attacks on her this way?
So I want to go just a little bit broader, but on the same concept, because we're about to enter into, we're already sort of in the beginning stages of this primary process, and so you do, as I said, a lot of your activism online. You will help to spread videos that are important and newsworthy, and you also respond to misinformation on sites like Twitter. So what can we do to try to make this situation better when there's so much information being spread, much of it either intentionally false or of dubious origin? What can we do to help to make the online dialogue during this election as productive as possible?
Well, that's a good question. I think the first thing we could do is take a breath. Like when you see something that might elicit an immediate, strong, visceral reaction, take a step back, take a breath, and assess it. Is this real? I think the one instance that we saw things get really out of hand was with the Covington kids, and Fox News, another instance of them using this sort of media narrative to completely reshape how people understood that news story. So it's okay to take a breath. It's okay to wait a second before you tweet or post about it and join the pile on. There's nothing worse than being ill-informed and engaging in political matters. So just validate, look up a second source, see who else has reported it, and don't believe everything you read.
Yeah, and I would like to add too, one of the things I'm trying to figure out how to, in the context of the show, help to do this. But I mean, I remember, like we all have, we're invested in politics, we're passionate about politics. In any election, we're probably gonna have one person that we prefer and others who are big challenges them we would like to see go down. So I would just caution our audience, if you see something that is just perfect, an attack against the person running against your preferred candidate, if it seems too good to be true, maybe it is, and maybe look into it, and maybe every crazy conspiracy theory that feels so good to retweet in the moment isn't actually true, even if we feel like the person who's spreading it should be trustworthy. So that would be my advice. But thankfully you are very reliable on Twitter, so I'm not too worried about that coming from you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you as always for joining us. Always good to get your take on politics, Jordan. Thank you very much for watching this clip from the Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.